Welcome to the PrepZone show, sponsored by Bevill State Community College. I'm Johnathan Bentley, joined by my co-host, Zach McCullar. And Zach, the high school football season is unfortunately over.
Yeah, second round.
It is now the
year.
very dark days of basketball season.
It is. We got basketball. We've got some good basketball teams, but it's not football.
Yeah, I know. That's our sport, right?
Football's the sport.
Football.
It's the sport.
We love football in an area that wasn't very good this year.
That's
but we
right.
we had our moments.
We did. We had good
We had
moments.
a couple of moments. A few
of them.
bad moments,
A couple of teams that made the second round of the playoffs.
Yes. I was hoping we'd have a team left, maybe even two teams left, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, just blame state tiebreakers.
It was the officials.
Yeah.
Let's just come out and say it was officials' fault. Absolutely. Okay, not really. All right, so let's talk about last week's two games we had. You were at this game, West Morgan 35, Corner 14.
And Corner, they fought hard, and it took all they had to keep this to 3 touchdowns because West Morgan's got so much talent. And, I mean, the Corner defense did a really good job of holding West Morgan, who has the best offense in the state, regardless of classifications. The defense held them to only 35 points, and only that's the lowest output of the season for West Morgan. West Morgan's got a quality team, and so is Corner. Corner, they got a lot of seniors, and you hate to see it end that way with a loss, but they made the second round of the playoffs. It was a historic season.
It really was
for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, and West Morgan undefeated. I mean, incredible. They've had a great season.
They have.
And, I mean, it's a tough draw. So what happens when you're a 3 seed? You get stuff like this in the second round, the undefeated team.
One loss 3 seed, too.
Yeah. I mean, Corner was really good. So they finished 10-2, kind of similar to our other team, the game I was at. There was a lot of similarities there. 28-6, Coosa Christian over Lynn. Coosa Christian is just it's a different level.
They're a beast. They are. It's basically they're almost unstoppable by any team in the northern bracket. Pickens got to them last year, but other than that, man, Coosa Christian seems unstoppable.
Yeah, this is a next level stuff. It was fun to watch. The thing about West Morgan, though, Corner held them to 35.
Right.
Now they're third in the state in offense, so they actually dropped them 2 thanks to Corner.
Now they're going to be mad.
Right. And so that's the next question. How far will these teams go? They won. We know Corner and Lynn, both 10-2, both great seasons. I guess we kind of saw it for Lynn.
Yeah, we did. We expected Lynn to be like this, but I didn't expect Corner to do this.
No,
It's one of those teams where you get the right people together at the right time with the right coach, and it completely clicked, and you go on a season like that.
To have a first-year coach come in and do that, it's just almost unheard of.
But it also builds pressure for next season too, which is that's kind of a hidden bad part of it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You start
right.
10-2 your first year, do all these things that Corner's never done. All right, so how far do you think West Morgan to go?
Well, West Morgan,
it's a tough draw.
It depends on the matchups you get. This team, they could go to state or they could lose Friday night. It just depends on who they get. But just on talent, I think they could make it. Probably the semifinals. I don't think they'll get to Tuscaloosa, though.
Right. Well, 4A is really tough at the top. You got to go through Cherokee County at some point.
That's going to be brutal.
So I think Coosa Christian in 1A. I think they'll win the North this year.
I think
Pickens
so too.
Always gets them. I think they'll get over the hump this year.
I agree as well. Coosa's probably going to wind up in Tuscaloosa, and this was the all-star matchup of the playoffs. Coosa and Lynn, and the way the Conquerors handled it, they won by 3 touchdowns. It's a dangerous team that I don't think anybody in the northern part of the state can handle.
That defense was incredible. They've given up, I think, 42 points now in the year, something like that. It's just unheard of. So it was like kind of a historic Coosa team that Lynn played, even though they had all those forfeits. All right, so what is future for Corner and Lynn now going forward? We kind of mentioned that. They raised the bar so high. What do you do at Corner next year?
Well, at Corner, they're losing a lot of seniors. I think they have 19 or 20 seniors.
20-something seniors.
It's a ridiculous number. And also Brendan Connor, their quarterback, he's graduating. I don't think Corner's going to be at this level next year, but with a coach like Campbell, they could get back to that level because I think they can pull people out of the hat. Just 10-2 may not happen.
I mean, it was such a different team this year. They just ran with Gavin Brown last year. Just ran. Got a new quarterback in, senior, 1 year, and look what he did this year. And he also has signed with UAB baseball, so this guy's an athlete.
He is, and you always hear it said, you'll succeed at one sport if you try a bunch of sports, and it's just proof of the case.
And that kind of follows suit here with Kel Tittle at Lynn. He was, 50. He had 52 going in, so now he has 53 touchdowns on the year. which is that's
Astronomical.
way up there on the list.
That's astronomical.
And he's another guy that I think he might be better. He'll probably sign baseball.
That's right.
Yeah. I was at a game last year where he hit 3 homers in a game, and on the last one, the other team was high-fiving him as he went through the
Wow, that shows that you've got a lot of respect when they're going to celebrate your home
The
runs.
other team.
The other hey,
Yeah,
if
that
somebody
poor
hits
pitcher.
3 home runs, they need to be congratulated.
Yes. So, I mean, he's another spectacular athlete. Now, Lynn, I mean, I think he's a generational top player,
Yeah.
one you don't see every year. But Lynn is Lynn, and they have kind of like with Corner, they have a great coach.
They do.
He just wins wherever he goes, and I'm sure they'll find a new way to win next year. Maybe not at this level, but a winning season. All right, so I wanted to talk about something coming up next month. In about a month, we'll know reclassifications coming up. What teams do you think it will affect?
Well, at this
season?
point, if you're asking me teams that I would stake on it, first of all is Curry, because I think Curry's going to go down to 3A.
Wow, that would be big.
It would.
That would help them,
It would
maybe.
definitely help them because they're not facing the normal 4A giants that they've had to face. In 3A, they could get put in a region also with some of our more local teams like Carbon Hill and Oakman. Which
That would be better.
That would be much better. I love the Class 4A region that they were in this year because it had Corner and Cordova and Curry and Dora and all of our local teams. It felt like.
Yeah, Curry was in there with Dora and Corner and Haleyville, and that didn't go well.
Yeah,
but
that's
maybe
brutal.
they could compete with. It'd be nice to have Carbon Hill in there to where they could add a non-region game,
Right.
And wouldn't have to add Carbon Hill and give them somebody else maybe they could play with.
What
But
about you?
Jasper, I think all signs are pointing back to 6A.
Yeah, I think they're going back to
And
6A as well.
That
That's
would
not
not.
gonna.
That's not good.
That's not. The
Depending
last
on where
time,
you
well,
go.
that's true. If you get put in an easier 6A division, if you have enough talent, you can do it. But I remember the last time
Oh, it was
Jasper went up
bad.
to 6A.
It was just there was every week it was something.
It
bad.
was, and it almost.
Pinson Valley and Clay Chalmers.
And even this year, it was a pretty brutal schedule. But it would be.
They haven't had a
expounded.
break. They have not had a break since maybe 3 or 4 years ago when they were really good. They took advantage of that.
They did.
I think they could compete in maybe the Coleman region.
They could, I believe.
They just don't need to go back toward Birmingham.
No,
let's keep.
Why
them
are our
north.
area teams always stuck in the Birmingham
Yeah,
region?
Cordova had that.
That
and
was
that didn't go
tough.
well either.
They were 5A at that point.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there's some really really good teams down there. All right, so we're going to jump over to college now, unfortunately, and well, let's jump on Alabama first since that's the more positive game last week. Thank you, Alabama. You were there, destroyed Chattanooga.
It was, and it could have been a little better. I mean, 66-10 is still not bad, but you're playing Chattanooga. You should beat them like that. And Jalen Milroe didn't score 6 touchdowns, which is
Didn't need to.
concerning. No, he didn't really need to, and neither
Could've.
did his backup, Ty Simpson. He decides to drop the football at the 1 yard line, which still makes me mad.
You can't do that.
No.
Especially playing for Saban. You can't.
No,
do that.
he would. He was mad. That was one of the lower moments of the game. But you're playing an FCS team, so you would expect to roll. The important thing is next week with Auburn and the week after with Georgia. Those are the 2 biggest games of the season
Now,
at this point.
we're coming down the home stretch here. Speaking of Auburn, that was a absolutely historic loss. Really, lose to New Mexico State, 31-10. I mean,
didn't
they
see
couldn't
that
even keep
happen.
the game close.
I was so shocked because you turn on the radio expecting to hear them jubilant. First thing out of Andy Burcham's mouth was, "Let's see if Auburn's got a historic comeback in them." Wait a
No.
minute, they're getting beat? That was my first thought because I wasn't paying attention to the
Right.
game. I thought Auburn was going
Well,
to
I
win.
mean, I think a lot of people kind of got in on that later. They saw the score and like, what happened?
Yeah.
And really, I mean, they just got drubbed up and down the field. There's nothing you could say. It wasn't like it was one bad thing. It was all bad.
It was not a fluke. It
No,
was.
it was not. That team looked better than them.
New Mexico State outplayed them, and this is not New Mexico State of 3 years ago.
Unfortunately.
Jerry Kill has got that team turned in the
Yeah.
right direction, and they are 9-3 at this point. They're going to play a 13-game
They
regular
have a
season.
great.
Incidentally,
Yeah, I think did they have Hawaii? Is that the reason?
that's right. They had Hawaii earlier in the season. They get Jacksonville State this week, which is they're going to try to extend their record.
Would that
against
not be
teams in the
crazy
state
if
of
Jacksonville
Alabama.
State beats them at their place and Auburn
That would
can't
be
beat them at
funny.
Auburn?
That would be funny. It may happen because
No,
New Mexico State may
Jackson-
have given everything they had this week. But
Boy, yeah. I mean, it could be a big letdown, and I wouldn't blame them. All right, so back to Alabama. They're 8th in the playoff rankings, and we're only got a couple games left.
Yeah, that's
what is their road? Have you looked at what they need? To,
I have. They would have to have 4 teams lose ahead of them. And
Okay.
if, let's say, Alabama wins out, they would beat Georgia. That's 1. Somebody's got to lose Ohio State, Michigan. That's 2. And then the Pac-12 championship game is likely Oregon-Washington.
Again.
That's 3. But I would put Alabama at 5. So somebody else has got to get beaten when it's not expected.
That leaves Florida State and Texas.
That leaves Florida State and Texas, basically.
Florida State got left besides
Florida State has got Florida and then Louisville in the conference championship game. Without Jordan Travis, the trip to the Swamp could be tough because Florida's looking for a bowl game. This is their Super Bowl, basically.
That's right. Yeah, and now it could happen. I give them a way better chance than last week. And what about Texas?
Texas, I don't see Texas losing the rest of the way
TCU
out.
and then either Oklahoma State or Oklahoma or Kansas State or something. Yeah, it's crazy.
The Big 12, it's basically
logjam.
It's been Texas, and then everybody else is underneath them. Oklahoma was really good, and then they completely fell apart.
Not as bad as USC.
Yes,
but
that's true.
Definitely.
That's true.
So do you think Auburn is – the bad news for Auburn is a lot of these – other SEC teams have had bad years, so they're going to get pushed up to a bowl they don't deserve to be at.
They might go to Liberty or Music
They
City.
need to be at Birmingham. I mean, that needs to be the end of it.
Well, they may wind up at Birmingham anyway.
Yeah, they need to be at Birmingham.
Because I could see the people at the Birmingham Bowl picking Auburn just because local
absolutely.
fans.
They would if they could. Yeah, so
depends on if they
it's going to be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah, all the fun of sorting out 6-6 teams in bowl games.
Yeah, and there's not. I heard there wasn't enough this year to go around.
Right. It could change.
At least this point.
It could
at
change.
This point. All right, so do you have any picks for us this week?
I do. I'm going to stick to only regional rivalries that are big-name rivalries. I'm not going with any group of 5 teams or anything like that to make it confusing. Just the mainline rivalries. Yeah, no UAB North Texas. Not even Jacksonville State and New Mexico State. Not even going to do that one. All right, first game I'm going to go with, it is Georgia Tech, Georgia, at Georgia Tech. It's a Georgia Tech team. This is the biggest game of their season, of course, and they want the win. Georgia may be looking ahead to Alabama. Does Georgia Tech keep it close, you think?
I think they'll cover, but the line is huge, so, I mean, that's not saying much. Maybe 17 points, something like that.
I agree.
I mean, they're not bad, and I really wish Auburn had played them in the bowl. They're both going to probably be 6-6.
That would be a real nice matchup.
Like
the Duke's Mayo Bowl or something.
Yes, I would love that game. They used to play a lot. Yeah. But I'll go Georgia.
All right, I'm going to have to agree with you as well. But Georgia Tech, it's a former Saban assistant in as their head coach, Brent Key. Mm-hmm. Georgia Tech's got a lot of talent on their team. They're on the way up.
They really are.
They are fortunate that they fired Jeff Collins and got a real head coach in there.
And he got Dino Baber fired, the Syracuse coach.
That's true.
After they beat them last week.
It's shocking because it seems like Syracuse, they're the kind of place they're not going to fire their head coach, it feels like. But they did. They pulled the plug. Off subject. Anyway.
Always.
Yeah, we're always off subject, it seems like.
A lot of tangents here and there.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Next game is in conference, LSU, Texas A&M.
I noticed who you picked.
Yes.
And I understand that because, well, it's Texas A&M. Because I'm taking LSU, but every year Texas A&M plays them better than they should. It makes no sense. They just kind of got their number, it seems like.
It seems like that's always a game you see an upset. Last year, Texas A&M pulls the upset. Remember in 2021, LSU was really good. Or no, LSU was really bad, and Texas A&M was decent. LSU pulled the upset. It's always an upset, it feels like, in that rivalry. We had a 7-overtime game a few years ago, which was
Texas A&M won that, right?
Yeah, Texas A&M won it 74-72, I think.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I don't think it's going into 7 overtimes this time, but I think A&M's going to win it close. I really do.
I'm going LSU, but I understand exactly what you're talking about.
All right, I brought this up briefly. Florida State, Florida in the Swamp. Who are you going to pick here? Because Florida State, they were without Jordan Travis, who went down last week against North Alabama with a gruesome leg injury.
Yeah, that was a bad game all the way around. It's just ugly. You could tell they were looking ahead, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, they did take care of business.
58-13, final score.
It was 13-0, 58 unanswered. So I'm going to take Florida State here, but boy, that's really tough. This fits right to Florida's advantage, it seems like.
It does. And Graham Mertz, Florida's quarterback, has been struggling with an injury. He probably will play, but he may not be at 100%, which adds a whole lot of confusion to that game.
He was on the bench at the end of the game last week.
Another
loss.
Lost to Missouri.
Brutal loss for Florida.
Missouri's Hall of Fame kicker, it feels like he's only missed one kick in his life, and that would have been an easy game winner against Auburn.
Thicker kicker, yes.
The one who hit 61 yards earlier in the season against Kansas State.
Missed almost closer than an extra point last year. Auburn won that game.
Well, Missouri's going to drill Arkansas, so I don't even have that on the limb, unless you think Arkansas is going to.
No, I don't.
Okay, making sure now. Arkansas.
They're going to be 4-8 this year.
You think
what a miserable season.
I think Sam Pittman gets fired.
He got the dreaded, vote of confidence from the AD the other day.
Yeah, which means there's a good chance.
I don't know. It's Arkansas. I think they'll give him another year.
Okay.
I really do.
Because he is an Arkansas graduate.
Yeah.
Off
and
subject.
he did a good job at first. I don't know what happened lately.
Well, we're going to go to our next game. I've got Florida, by the way. I almost forgot to mention that. I think Florida's going to win for those regions. Next game is the biggest game in college football next week. Ohio State, Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is suspended from Michigan, but it's at the Big House.
Boy.
There's so many subplots to this thing. Who do you think wins?
I'm actually taking Ohio State, and I really don't know why. It's at Michigan, but it seems like they've got it coming. But Ohio State's had their share of close games.
That's
too.
true.
I mean, it's not like they're killing everybody.
I almost lost.
That's going to be a really, man, that was a tough game for me to pick. It was the last one I picked. It took me a long time, but I did settle on Ohio State. So you were going Michigan?
I'm going Michigan just because. See, I was going to pick Ohio State. I had planned to pick them the whole way through the season, and then Jim Harbaugh gets suspended. Michigan's not going to lose a game without Jim Harbaugh. They're going to play for him.
What's the shame is they won game number 1,000 in their history, and Harbaugh's watching it at the hotel or whatever.
That's a shame. I'm going to say Michigan wins game 1,001 against their bitter rival. It's going to be a top 3 matchup. It's going to be probably the best game we're going to see all day, most likely, unless this next game beats it. So we disagree there. Ohio State for you, Michigan for me.
Oh, I could see that easily. Yeah, going either way. It was a really tough game to pick.
Next game, final game is the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. If this were in Tuscaloosa, it'd be an easy pick for both of us, but it's down at Jordan-Hare, America's Voodoo Palace again in the Iron Bowl, it seems like, because Alabama always looks like a high school team when they go down there. What do you see happening?
After last week, now I really don't know what to think. I mean, they did not show up. Now, if that same team comes out, I mean, this will be a Chattanooga score.
Oh, yeah.
So, boy, it's really hard for me to pick. I mean, obviously, I'm going to go Alabama, but did they cover? How close is it? I say 20 points.
Wow. See,
Auburn's just, after last week, I
don't have
no confidence whatsoever.
Well, I have no confidence in Alabama to play at Jordan-Hare because
it's different. It's true.
I've been there twice. There was 2019 where Auburn was actually a really good team. So is Alabama. Alabama's playing with its backup quarterback. Of course, Auburn wins on an illegal substitution with a minute left to play. That was
they
sad.
didn't win on that play. They did not win on that play.
Well, it sealed the deal.
Yeah, there you go.
It sealed the deal. The reason Auburn won that is because Alabama forgot how to kick a field goal.
It hit the post. Yeah.
That was
brutal. But you got even 2 years later.
2 years later, it took 4 overtimes against Brian Harsin.
Thriller. Yeah.
It was. And when it takes 4 overtimes to beat that Auburn team, that shows that you really struggle at Jordan-Hare.
that kind of proves the point. And I've always said, no, they're going to kill them. But that game kind of threw everything out the window because that should not have been close.
I think the last time Alabama played a really good game at Jordan-Hare may have been 2011. But, I mean, other than that, that's the only time one of Saban's Alabama teams has played a good game. 2007, Auburn wins. 2009, it took Roy Upchurch to win it in that 2009 game.
Yeah.
Of course, 2011, Alabama wins. 2013, there's the kick six. We're not going to touch on that. 2015, it took a Derrick Henry touchdown with the last minute to make it look decent.
A lot of those good games.
29-15. Of course, 2017, Auburn wins by 12. 2019, Auburn wins by 3, and then 2021, Alabama wins in 4 overtimes.
It's crazy. It really is.
And then at Bryant-Denny Stadium,
it would be a 40-point loss.
Yeah, Auburn has only gotten close, twice at Bryant-Denny?
Since
2010, they won.
Since then?
Since then, I think once.
Not close.
2014, where it was 55 to 44.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was an incredible game.
Yeah, but this was Alabama, a completely different thing.
So I'm going to go ahead and take Alabama by a field goal here.
I think it's going to be that
close? Low scoring, kind of 20-17, maybe 17-14. Low scoring, ugly game, lots of turnovers. Neither team can do anything offensively. That's how I think it's going to shake out.
Well, after seeing what this New Mexico State quarterback did against them, what is Milroe going to do against them?
But that's the thing. Auburn has seen him, and now they can watch film and prepare, and they can correct all their mistakes.
They couldn't tackle the New Mexico State guy. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be.
I mean, Auburn.
Be interesting.
It seems like the seasons where they can't do anything right, they're still going to take it to the wire if it's at Jordan-Hare.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be fun and close.
I don't hope it's close. I hope it's a blowout.
I don't think it will be. And if it was a different time of year, I'd be mowing the grass at halftime. That's what I usually do in some of these games.
I don't know. You may be on the couch screaming.
No, I've done that too. I've done that as well. All right, so one thing I want to touch on before we leave is, I didn't write it on here. Hold on. Okay, I wrote it.
You wrote it. That means it's official.
Yes. Now, Cordova has had a coaching change in football
That's
since
right.
we've talked last. So what do you think of the Cordova job?
I think it's probably the biggest pressure cooker in Walker County because you have all the history at Cordova behind you, and they're not going to settle for 5-5 seasons. They want you to take them to the playoffs, and that's understandable. But coming off a 1-9 season, if I were a head coach getting hired into Cordova, I'd be a little intimidated just because of the history and also the teams they have to play on a week-in, week-out basis. But it's a really good job if somebody wants to prove how good they are.
Yeah. Actually, it was 2-8. They
Well,
beat Hamilton and Curry.
Yeah, it might as well be.
Hamilton struggled. And, I agree. It's a tough job. I think a lot of these schools around here will give you time. Cordova, maybe not so much.
But, hey, when you have a program like that with that kind of history, you can afford to do that.
They expected more this year. And unfortunately, I like Coach Smothers over there.
Too.
Really. And his son's going to be a great quarterback. He's already had a great freshman year. All right, so that wraps up our show. Thanks for the picks again.
Appreciate that.
And we'll do some big games next week as well.
Oh, yeah, the biggest of the big.
Yeah. So that wraps up our show. I want to thank Bevill State for sponsoring, Jake for producing, and happy birthday, Jake. It was yesterday. Yeah. And if you like the show, like and subscribe on YouTube. That'll help us out. And we'll see you next week.
Bevill State
is your community college.
For
convenient and affordable academic transfer options.
Rewarding health science programs. High wage, high demand career tech training.
your story starts at Bevill State.